Hi, this is Todd from Cycle2Go, and today we are going to be replacing a tension pin on a Brooks saddle. This is a common thing to break. Here's the saddle that just came in. This bolt, generally, when it's not broken, has a nut, and then when you tighten it, this pushes out the nose of the saddle to keep the tension on the leather as it stretches. Over time, where the threads start, this tends to be a weak point, and with bouncing up and down over time that can break. So here we're going to be replacing it. One of the first things we're doing, since the leather on this is a little bit dry, is we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of Proofide on it, which is a leather treatment cream. And we sell a little maintenance kit that will have a nose wrench, polishing cloth, and the Proofide. And this will just keep your leather nice and supple. Since we're going to be stretching it, it helps a little bit. I generally like to apply it to the underside of the saddle, just because if it is applied to the top, if you polish it out real well, that's great, but you can also have it bleed onto whatever clothes you're wearing. So just keep that in mind if you are applying the leather cream to the top, just because you don't want to wear a light colored pair of khakis or something like that right after you polish your saddle and then get a stain on your shorts or pants that won't come out. Let's see, the leather on this is pretty dry. It's soaking it right up. And this is a good idea to do this. Depending on where you are, obviously you don't want to get your Brooks saddle wet, but if you do get it wet, treating the leather is important. And every 6 months to a year is probably a good idea, just to make sure your nose bolt is tensioned up and that the leather's been treated. It'll help your saddle last a lot longer. So that's good for right now. We'll probably come back and add a little bit more and polish it out when we're done. But moving on to our tension bolt, this will tighten in and out to put tension. So when we're putting it in, you want to tighten it all the way down so that you're not stretching it. This will poke through the clip like so. And then we're wanting to stretch it in underneath that. Generally using a screwdriver works well, but the bolt will want to move as soon as you start prying that. So securing this, you can either use a zip tie if you want. You can bring a zip tie around here to hold it in place. I'm actually just going to use a piece of binding wire if you have wire laying around the house, and this will just keep the bolt from moving when we're trying to pry it. You'll also notice I'm doing it on top of a soft mat here. When you're pushing around, you just want to avoid being on something rough that's going to scuff it or tear it. So, just be careful what surface you're on. You probably don't want to do it on concrete. Get a towel or make sure you're doing it on a smooth counter. Also, keep in mind, if you are doing it on top of a counter, you also don't want to inflict any damage to the counter you're working on. So now that the bolt is being held in place with the wire, I'm going to bring a screwdriver over the end. All right. Now we just got to get the head of that pin in. I'm going to tap it a little bit more. So now that we have it kind of under the clip, I'm going to go ahead and remove the wire. And at this point, we're trying to get the head of the bolt to settle into the little hole on the nose. So now I'm going to use a hammer and just very lightly tap to hopefully knock that right in place. I'm trying to pry at the back end of the bolt to tip the front end into the little hole so it nestles where it's supposed to. There's a little nub on the end, so that is facing down, so that's not going to prevent it from going in if you had it in one of these positions. And you can move that around with the nose wrench. So now that we have that facing down, hopefully, there we go. And now we've got it lined up. And with that in place, we can now use the tension wrench. This leather was so dry and taut already that I don't think we need to do a whole lot. But if you did have like an older saddle where the leather was dry, you can grab a hold of the nose wrench, and then you can use this, and then this would allow you to tension the nut to put a little more tension on the saddle. But that is replacing the tension pin on a Brooks saddle.